Howdy, folks. Quick Friday the 13th thing. It's Friday the 13th. It's literally, as I'm recording this, Friday the 13th. I let it sneak up on me. I got my new job. I'm doing all this stuff. I'm constantly busy. I've been working just nonstop for this whole week, and I realized today, oh, I was gonna do a Friday the 13th video, and I didn't. So this is a very quick thing that I just want to get out there. I had a few people, commenters, ask me my opinions on, or whether I'd cover the Friday the 13th fan film by Vincent DiSanti, Never Hike Alone. And, quick disclaimer, I'm not really a big fan of fan films. I don't particularly enjoy watching them for the most part. They don't really get my goat. I liked them when I was younger, but now they just don't do much for me. So that's one reason I didn't make that part of my my bit for the Friday the 13th series. Was I don't watch fan films, but enough people expressed interest, and I have nothing else I can do in the time allotted for me. So I decided, you know what, I'll just go and I'm gonna watch Never Hike Alone, and I'll give my thoughts on the whole film today. And then I saw that just as of recording this 4 hours ago, to give you an idea of just how last minute this is, Never Hike Alone, the Ghost Cut came out. And this is a compilation of Disappear, Never Hike in the Snow, and Never Hike Alone. So a music video they did over at Womp Stomp Films, and then the prequel of Never Hike Alone, and then Never Hike Alone itself, in basically an order. So yeah, let's just dig into this real quick. So first off, before we get into the movies, Jason himself is played by Vincent DiSanti, director, writer, producer, man of many talents. First off, great mask. I love the whole costuming with Jason in this. I like that the markings are gone. Presumably they've been worn off over the years. I think that's a great detail. I think it makes it very much its own thing. It feels like, something that they, it feels like most productions, they made their own mask, and that's fantastic. I love the under mask, which I think it's the one you can get on CFX, which, if that's the case, great advertisement for their services, because that looks dope as hell. I would maybe have glued some hair to it or something, just to give it a little bit more of a kind of natural feel, but that's a minor gripe. Everything else works really well for the costuming. I'm not super sold on Vincent's physicality. I don't think he's bad by any means. This is one of those CJ Graham situations where I'm not saying the guy's bad. He's also no CJ Graham. But for me, I think that there's just something about how he's a thin guy. He's obviously athletic, but he's not Jason built to me. And I think that that's a bit of an issue. I understand the inclination for the director to play this icon himself, both from a practical standpoint and just, hey, that's fucking cool. I get it. I would do the same thing. So that's totally fine. It's just one of those little things that kind of does take away a little bit from the films for me, just a tad. Not big, not big deal, not a big deal. Just one of those little bitty things that hurts them for me. Now the first segment of this anthology is, of course, the music video Disappear, and it's a music video. I'm not sure that it really works well alongside the other two films, but as just a piece of Friday the 13th fan junk, it's fun and silly. It's a nice kind of almost mellow gag with Jason just going out there and wanting to make some friends. By make some friends, I mean kill some folks. And it's competently made. You got that great Jason costume. That helps a lot. It had it's obviously the same production team behind Never Hike Alone, and cool. Never Hike in the Snow is what comes directly afterward, and Never Hike in the Snow, 2020 release, of course, just came out last month, I believe. Yeah, just came out last month. And, first the obvious, this was meant to be part of a much larger series that basically was going to amount to, a web series. And that's a great idea, but unfortunately the pandemic and issues with snow kind of foobarred the whole production, and they were only able to get out the one entry, and so it ends, of course, on a cliffhanger, not unlike Never Hike Alone does. Getting Tom Matthews and Vinny Guastafaro was a total coup. Of course, Tom Matthews does show up in Never Hike Alone, but to get them both back for this production. Really just fantastic. Like the fact that they got, they're obviously not actors who are going to be the most challenging to nab. They're not exactly like, top of Tinseltown, but it's just really cool to see two alumni from the series, especially from one of the best entries in the series, back and in much larger roles. Well, for Tom Matthews, obviously Vinny's in a larger role because this is his first time, but Tom Matthews taking on a much larger role than his role in Never Hike Alone. That's amazing. Not amazing. That's cool. It's cool. Let's not overhype it. Back to Jason. I'm not a huge fan of Jason's archery skills. We do get a look at those sweet ass gloves, which I think are also from CFX. I might be wrong about that, but I don't love Jason's archery skills. Just like in the remake, there's just something there's something with the accuracy and skill involved that just doesn't really jive with me. I recognize that is a me problem, but it does bug me a little bit. That said, it's not a huge deal. I'm also not huge on all the GoPro and drone footage. I don't know. I don't have an issue specifically with them being used in a film production. And actually, the GoPro on the axe thing stands out as pretty dope. But they're tools that I feel are way too easily overused. And, there's no reason to have, like, the GoPro in the trunk, for example. You can fit a DSLR in there. I find it highly unlikely that the crew didn't have access to one. That said, it is a good shot, and, it stands out a little because of that kind of the highlights issue with a GoPro. You're dealing with a camera that is auto-exposing versus one that has manual exposure. And it just sticks out like a sore thumb, especially since all the other cinematography is so well done and so professional. Overall, the cinematography in this one is solid. As I said, the police cars lighting up the background early on, the window light hitting the corpse, the general use of shadow. There are some moments that betray the budget and crew science, but I'm hard-pressed to think of a better-looking fan film, at least in the horror genre. That said, I have not watched that Halloween Kills fan film everybody's going cuckoo banana pants over, which I think also stars Vincent as Michael Myers. I think that's what I saw. I don't remember exactly, but that's cool. I would also love to play these icons, so I totally get that. That's fucking dope as hell, man. Let's see. I love that we get that sweet moment with Jason remembering his mother and turning into child Jason. I think that's the one moment in this film that actually could set it as superior to Never Hike Alone. The idea of Jason being a little more than mentally a pissed off child is something great about him, and I feel like that often gets set aside in favor of him just like being and looking cool. Anywho, this short ends with a sequence exploring Jason's cabin hideaway via a mix of that shadowy goodness, cinematography, and body cam footage. I actually think that's a good use of the GoPro, so good on them on that one. Here we also get an interesting look at a box of hockey masks, including an approximation of the Roy mask, which certainly raises a lot of questions. This scene is carried by Brian Forrest as Deputy Alan Mabry. I think that he does a pretty okay job. I don't love his acting. I feel like the one big problem with a lot of these, and this is just a fan film thing, is of course you're not going to get the best top-of-the-line professional actors. But I will say this, there are no bad actors in these shorts. They're all shorts, in these shorts. But I do think that, it's an obvious change between Tom Matthews and Brian Forrest. I feel like I'm shitting on Brian Forrest. I'm not. I do think he does a good job, especially in this last scene. I think his early stuff with Vinny is a little off, but I think that his final bits with Jason and I think all these actors do a great job with fear. And I think he does a great job in those last moments. It definitely makes them, it ups the ante a bit in those last few scenes. Let's see, the Ghost Cut also includes some additional news footage regarding Mabry's disappearance and leads into Never Hike Alone. We also get a nice cameo there as well. A lot of cameos. Apparently Adam Marcus shows up in here somewhere as well. I didn't notice him. I'm glad I didn't. Such a bitch. So anyway, so that leads into Never Hike Alone. That was the big sensation of 2017 as far as Friday the 13th fan films go. Simpler time. Never Hike Alone, for those who somehow haven't checked it out yet, follows hiker and YouTuber Kyle MacLeod and his trusty GoPro hiking around Crystal Lake, something that is generally ill-advised. As with its 2020 prequel, Never Hike Alone is a really well put together little flick, and for me, and I think many others, it easily remains the best of the bunch, primarily because it sticks to its own story, doesn't rely as much on fan service, and, well, it operates as its own film. I like that, and for the most part, you could just take out the Jason stuff and replace it with an original killer, and bada bing, bada boom, you have yourself a movie. I mean, add like 20 minutes to make it a feature film, but once you take out those very overtly Friday the 13th elements, you have a pretty good standalone film. I mean, if you take like the cliffhanger ending and you extend it into a full like third act finale, maybe with like Jason showing up, I don't know, at the hospital or whatever, and you get a final action sequence, and you have this dude and this paramedic fighting off Jason, or whatever he's called in this hypothetical scenario. If I watched that on Shudder, I would have a pretty good time. So that's props to this movie. Good shit. Drew Lady, I'm supposed to say his name, Drew Lady, whatever. As Kyle is likable and suitably rugged and handsome enough to pass for a YouTube hiking star. He's not the best actor in the world, but he does a good job. And for a fan film, he does an excellent job. As with Brian Forrest, it's just one of those things where you can feel the kind of greenness to it. You can feel that this is not a totally professional job with the time to really like coach these actors and work through the scenes. You can tell that it is a fan film. But with that said, when you consider these handicaps, as far as fan films go, the acting here is fantastic, especially when they get into the action sequences. As the action gets going, all of the necessary elements really work. Kyle's reactions and physicality, the fight choreography, the cinematography, all the elements really come together to make a tense and exciting horror film. My only qualm, as mentioned up top, is that Jason doesn't quite work for me. Again, he's just a bit too thin, and I think here it really Never Hike in the Snow, it works better. Here, the problem is you get these like stomp sounds added in, these Foley stomp sounds, and it's like he's just not that big, guys. Like it's fine that he's not that big. It's not that large of a hindrance. It's just when you add this bah, 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 whenever he walks around, it's like, oh, you trying to make him seem bigger than he is, and so that took me out a little bit. But anyway, when we get into the final moments, despite some hammy acting from the male paramedic, I really love the last few minutes where we get a look into Kyle's kind of now severely damaged psyche. The pretty welcome Tom Matthews cameo, which works way better than it should. This all, of course, leads to a cliffhanger that is maybe a little too on the nose when it comes to calling back. You got Axel, of course. You got Tom Matthews, reading off one of his famous lines from Part 6. It is very fun, despite that. It's a nice finale that I'm really hoping gets a proper sequel at some point. According to this cut, we'll be seeing that in 2021, which, here's hoping. That's all I got to say. I mean, looking at it as just, again, as a fan film, this is really good. I have, again, little qualms. There's also some continuity issues that I question, but, this is way better than any fan film has the right to be. And again, I love that Never Hike Alone works as its own thing. And that really makes it special. If you're going to make a fan film, make it your own thing. Don't rely on references. Don't rely on previous stories. Do your own thing and see how it comes out. Because, at the end of the day, anyone can take a line from an old movie and put it in theirs. Anybody can buy a Jason costume and run around the woods. But to make a film that works on its own, to make a film that, can be considered outside of being a fan film, a good production, that's something special. So I think that, Womp Stomp Films, they've done some really good work. Don't take any of my criticisms as being terribly harsh. I don't really have any serious criticisms. If anything, I just wish they would make something original, because I think that would be something really awesome to see. I don't know what their aspirations are. I haven't read any interviews with Vincent or anything like that, so I don't really know what the deal is there. But, at some point in the future, once they're done with this Friday the 13th stuff, I would love to see some actual work from them. Actually, I have Vincent's IMDb up because I was checking a few things before. He's done a short called The Red Room, but I don't see any original stuff. I guess he has worked as a second unit director. I'm just not seeing a lot of other work, and that's too bad. I really would love to see him tackle something else. But whatever. Oh, I see. He moved to Los Angeles in 2008, has since worked in several aspects of the film industry, including live action, feature animation, story development, voice acting, visual effects, commercials, and more. Okay, so he's probably a commercial director. I get it. Okay. So I'm assuming that's how he makes his money. Cool. If that's what he's chill doing, cool. I would still love to see him tackle like a feature-length original concept and just see how that works. But either which way, point being, cool stuff. This is actually part of the reason I didn't do this as part of my series. In addition to my fan film thing, is it's a good fan film. I don't have anything else to add. But for those of you in the comments who are curious about what I thought of Never Hike Alone, there we go. And I'm sorry I couldn't do anything more in depth. I don't really know. These are not complicated stories that we're dealing with. It's a perfectly good Man in the Woods movie for Never Hike Alone, and for Never Hike in the Snow, it is a good start to a web series. I really wish they could have done the full thing right off the bat, but whatever the case may be, I look forward to seeing more of it. I know that they're working hard to get all of that together, and I will be watching. So for someone who doesn't like fan films, that's a mark of approval, a certification of how fucking dank as hell they are. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, check out my merch and my Patreon and all that jazz. And until next time, go watch a movie, guys.